Good morning. Today we are discussing norovirus, an agent that remains a formidable challenge for clinicians and public health officials alike. While many colloquially refer to it as the stomach flu, norovirus is biologically distinct from influenza. It is a non-enveloped, positive-sense, single-stranded RNA virus from the Calliciviridae family. Its clinical profile is defined by its extreme contagiousness and its ability to paralyze high-density living environments through rapid-fire outbreaks. As front-end clinicians, understanding norovirus is not just about managing individual hydration. It is about recognizing an epidemiological threat that can quickly overwhelm an emergency department or a long-term care facility. The epidemiology of norovirus is characterized by its sheer volume. It is estimated to cause nearly 700 million cases of illness every year. While it is often self-limiting in healthy adults, it carries a heavy burden in the pediatric and geriatric populations. In developing nations, it remains a significant cause of childhood mortality, contributing to approximately 50,000 deaths annually in children under the age of 5. In the developed world, the economic impact is staggering, estimated at 48 billion British pounds per year due to healthcare costs and lost productivity. We see a distinct seasonality, with peaks in the winter months, but clinicians must remain vigilant year-round, especially in settings where people congregate in close proximity. The pathophysiology of norovirus is a fascinating look at viral efficiency. The virus enters the body via the fecal-oral route. Once ingested, it must survive the acidic environment of the stomach. Because it is a non-enveloped virus, it is remarkably hardy, resisting gastric acid as well as many common detergents and alcohol-based hand sanitizers. The virus primarily targets the small intestine. It binds to histoblood group antigens, which are complex carbohydrates found on the surface of red blood cells and intestinal epithelial cells. Interestingly, an individual's genetic makeup regarding these antigens can determine their susceptibility to certain strains. Once the virus infects the enterocytes, it causes a blunting or flattening of the intestinal villi. This reduces the surface area available for absorption, leading to an osmotic pull of water into the intestinal lumen, resulting in watery diarrhea. Furthermore, the virus disrupts normal gastric motility. This delay in gastric emptying is what triggers the sudden, often projectile vomiting that characterizes the infection. To illustrate the clinical spectrum, let us consider two hypothetical cases. Case 1. A 24-year-old female presents to the urgent care clinic with a 12-hour history of severe nausea, multiple episodes of non-bilious vomiting, and profuse watery diarrhea. She reports a low-grade fever and generalized muscle aches. She recently returned from a 3-day Caribbean cruise. On examination, she is slightly tachycardic, but has moist mucous membranes. This is a classic presentation where the history of travel or exposure to a crowded environment points directly toward norovirus. Management involves aggressive oral rehydration and a temporary gut rest followed by a bland diet. Case 2. An 88-year-old male with a history of congestive heart failure and chronic kidney disease is brought from a skilled nursing facility where several other residents have had similar symptoms. He has been vomiting for 24 hours and is now lethargic. His blood pressure is 90/60 and his creatinine has spiked from his baseline. In this geriatric patient, the primary concern is not the virus itself, but the secondary acute kidney injury and cardiovascular strain caused by rapid fluid loss. This patient requires hospitalization and intravenous fluid resuscitation. The clinical onset of norovirus is famously abrupt. Patients often describe feeling perfectly fine 1 hour and being completely incapacitated the next. The incubation period is typically 12 to 48 hours. The hallmark triad consists of nausea, vomiting, and watery, non-bloody diarrhea. While diarrhea is more common in adults, vomiting is often the more prominent feature in children. Systemic symptoms are frequent and can mimic a mild flu-like illness. Patients may report a low-grade fever, which usually stays below 38.5 degrees Celsius. Headache, malaise, and significant myalgias are common complaints. It is vital to note that the presence of high-grade fever, bloody stools, or severe localized abdominal pain should prompt a search for alternative diagnoses, such as bacterial pathogens like Salmonella, Shigella, or Clostridioides difficile. In the majority of cases, the diagnosis of norovirus is clinical. If you are in the midst of an outbreak, the Kaplan criteria serve as a reliable tool. These criteria look for a short incubation period, a short duration of illness, a high percentage of patients vomiting, and the absence of bacterial pathogens in stool cultures. For definitive laboratory diagnosis, the preferred method is a stool PCR test. This is highly sensitive and can detect very low levels of viral RNA. However, in an outpatient setting, PCR is often unnecessary unless the patient is immunocompromised or if the information is required for public health tracking. Enzyme-linked immunosorbent assays are available, but are generally less sensitive and can yield false negatives, particularly in the early or late stages of the illness. Management of norovirus is predominantly supportive. There are no specific antiviral medications currently approved for norovirus. The primary goal is the prevention and treatment of dehydration. Oral rehydration solutions, which contain specific ratios of glucose and electrolytes to maximize intestinal absorption, are superior to sports drinks or juices. In the clinical setting, antiemetics like ondansetron can be a game changer. By stopping the vomiting, we allow the patient to successfully rehydrate orally, often avoiding the need for intravenous fluids. However, use caution with antidiarrheals like loperamide. While they can be used in stable adults to reduce the frequency of stools, they should be avoided in children and in any patient where a bacterial cause or inflammatory bowel disease is suspected. From a public health perspective, the management of norovirus is actually the management of the environment. Because the virus is resistant to alcohol, we must emphasize hand washing with soap and water. In an institutional setting, infected patients should be isolated for at least 48 hours after their symptoms have completely resolved, as viral shedding continues even after the patient feels better. Surfaces must be cleaned with high-concentration chlorine bleach solutions to effectively kill the virus. The prognosis for norovirus is generally excellent, with most patients returning to baseline within 3 days. However, we must remain mindful of the tail of the disease. In the elderly, the physiological stress can trigger exacerbations of underlying conditions. In the immunocompromised, norovirus can become a chronic, debilitating infection lasting months. Looking forward, there is significant research into norovirus vaccines. Because the virus is so genetically diverse and does not provide long-term immunity after infection, creating a universal vaccine is difficult. Currently, several candidate vaccines are in clinical trials, focusing on virus-like particles that mimic the structure of the virus to trigger an immune response. Until a vaccine is available, our best tools remain rapid recognition, meticulous hydration, and rigorous hygiene. Thank you for your attention. Please let me know if you have any questions.